Good evening and welcome. This is the India Today Newsroom. I'm Rahul Kamal. An India Today exclusive is our top focus on the newsroom tonight. As security forces in the valley battle mob fury, India Today has accessed a stone pelter's sensational claim. This young boy on your screen was caught hurling rocks at security forces in South Kashmir, and after being apprehended, he confessed that he was hired by separatist leader Syed Ali Shah Geelani to attack security personnel. He claims that he and several others like him get paid 500 rupees a day to spread mayhem in Kashmir.
गिलानी ने बोला गिलानी ने वही पैसे देता है हमें
Stone pelters in Kashmir are adopting a very deadly, dangerous, devious tactic. They are now being used as shields by terrorists to lob grenades at CRPF and the police. Listen carefully and see these images on your screen, accessed exclusively by India Today. You've got a mob of stone pelters. Hiding somewhere behind them are a group of hardened terrorists. The stone pelters are throwing stones. Some of them are angry youth of Kashmir. Behind them are terrorists. These terrorists lob petrol bombs. They lob hand grenades, attacking the security personnel, injuring, killing India's soldiers. And as a consequence, the soldiers get agitated. They open fire. Despite the restraint that they show, initially they end up opening fire. This switch in terror tactics. In a ground report from Kashmir, remember, all other channels are sitting in the studios, venting lots of noise, lots of fury. India Today is the only channel to be actually reporting from ground zero. We'll get you extensive ground reports, because to tell this story, you need to be on the ground, and that's what our team of correspondents are doing. Let me take you through the top 10 headlines at 10 p.m. tonight. Congress names 78-year-old Sheila Dikshit as its chief ministerial face for Uttar Pradesh polls. This on a day when the Anti-Corruption Bureau sends her a notice in the water tanker scam. Another twist in the Dadri lynching case. A year after he was killed by a mob for allegedly consuming beef, a court orders FIR against Mohammed Akhlaq's family for alleged cow slaughter. Death toll in Kashmir climbs to 37 as tension continues for the 7th straight day. Life at a standstill as separatists extend their shutdown call by 2 days. Reinstated Arunachal Pradesh Chief Minister Nabam Tuki likely to face a trust vote by Saturday. BJP locks up its MLAs to prevent poaching. Desperate Congress appeals to all rebels to return. Woman officer who led the Guard of Honor for President Barack Obama takes the Indian Air Force to court. Alleges bias and discrimination in being denied permanent commission. The Defence Ministry refutes the charge, says Pooja Thakur was offered permanent commission 4 years ago, but she declined the offer. Operation Sankat Mochan begins. General VK Singh lands in Juba to evacuate 600 stranded Indian nationals. Sources say out of 600 Indians, only 300 have registered to come back. Big setback for Lalit Modi. Interpol sends its report to St. Lucia. Opposes his citizenship plea, says there are several cases pending against him in India. BJP resorts to unique sleepover protest to seek justice for Karnataka top cop Ganpati. MLAs lay overnight siege to the floor of the assembly, seek ouster of Minister KG George for driving the cop to suicide. Shocker from IIT Madras, 2 suicides in a single day. Research scholar ends his life because of exam stress. Professor's wife kills herself because of personal issues. It's been insinuated for a while now, but India Today has been able to get videographic proof of a stone pelter coming on camera after being nabbed by security personnel and accepting that separatists pay him money. Those are some of the images exclusively accessed by India Today. The stone pelter you're about to see tells the personnel who arrest him, who nab him, that he gets paid 500 rupees every day to come out on the streets. This comment from the stone pelter has been corroborated also by a reaction from the police and the CRPF and the State's Intelligence Bureau, who say that separatists are paying money to stone pelters, at least some of them. We're not saying all the stone pelters have money sent to them, but some of these separatists are coming in, paying some of these stone pelters who are going out to try and provoke the armed forces. The separatists in turn, we all know, get money from Pakistan's ISI, a very, very deadly, vicious game aimed at setting heaven on fire. Here's a ground report.
गिलानी ने बोला गिलानी ने वही पैसे देता है हमें कितना रुपए मिलता है 500 देता है 500
Make no mistake, Pakistan is funneling funds to keep Kashmir boiling, poisoning the young minds, using them as weapons against India and its braves. ISI is using separatist hawks to hire vulnerable, unemployed young men in the valley to attack Indian security forces, cunningly manipulating Kashmiris to wage war on their own country. Pakistan-funded separatists can deny it no more. Young men seen using stones and bricks as lethal projectile weapons caught by security forces during protest in downtown Srinagar have made startling revelation to the police. Clearly naming Hurriyat hardliner Syed Ali Shah Geelani, alleging that local handlers rent mobs of stone pelters for as little as 500 rupees. India Today has accessed the shocking video released by police sources.
मुझे भैया गोली मार दे मैं मरना चाहता हूँ मुझे गोली मारो ओ भैया मुझे गोली मारो गिलानी ने बोला गिलानी ने वही पैसे देता है हमें कितना रुपए मिलता है 500 देता है 500
रुपए एक आदमी का
हाँ एक आदमी को 500
कितने आदमी हो
बहुत है
कितना 500 1000
500 दो चीज या हमारी गैंग में 20-30 है
तुम लोगों को पत्थर मार के क्या मिलता है
वो पैसे देता है हम बेरोजगार है
These unrests are not without detailed plans, so they need to exercise restraint, be patient. There has been very relentless stone pelting. Grenades have also been launched at the security forces. There have been petrol bombs, and on some occasions even firing was done from among the members of public.
जो आजकल ये प्रेस की तरफ से भी आ रहा है कि हमें कश्मीरियों को भड़काया जा रहा है लीडरों के मुताल्लिक कि वो ऐसे कर रहे हैं वगैरह वगैरह, तो हमें उन सब के लिए नहीं जाना चाहिए क्योंकि ये इंडिया की चाल है ताकि हम एक दूसरे के दुश्मन बन जाए और कुछ नहीं, अल्लाह गवाह ये साजिश एक है.
It is the 7th day of curfew in the Kashmir Valley and life has by and large remained paralyzed, and the security forces are now preparing for that big Friday prayers at the Eidgah. Tension is expected not just in the old town Srinagar, not just in downtown, but also in old Sopore, Shopia, Anantnag, where Pakistan-backed forces will try and foment more trouble.
Even as the death toll rises in the valley, Pakistan continues to play a dangerous double game. Disrupt and destabilize before inflicting the ultimate damage. Use Kashmir to attack India on international platforms. With Rahul Kawal in Delhi and Gaurav Sawant and Ashraf Wani in Srinagar, Bureau Report, India Today.
By speaking to sources in the intelligence agencies, we've also been able to put together a stone pelters rate card. Now, and I'm saying this again, it's not as if all stone pelters are being paid money, but there are hardline elements who've come in who are being offered money. And here is the rate card for you, starting with snatching a weapon of the security forces. They get at least 500 rupees per weapon. That's not all. If the stone pelters are able to steal a grenade and lob this at the security personnel, they get 1,000 rupees from their handlers in the ISI. The mob leaders, those who are tasked with gathering crowds to pelt stones, are paid upwards of 5,000 rupees each time they're able to put a mob together. Pelting stones at security forces can get you anywhere between 100 to 500 rupees per day. And you heard that confession from one of the stone pelters themselves. I will now show you how the tactics of these stone pelters are changing, because A lot of people believe that these are angry young youth, spontaneous crowds coming out, but it's not quite as simple as that, because hiding amidst these angry young people are a lot of very, very dangerous, hardened terrorists. Unlike the youth who have stones in their hands, these terrorists have hand grenades or they have petrol bombs in their hands. They stand towards the back, they lob these hand grenades and petrol bombs at the security personnel. The security personnel often get injured, and as a consequence, the others get agitated, and some of them end up opening fire, which leads to the casualty figure going up and creates this vicious circle that we're seeing in Kashmir currently. India Today has been exclusively able to access some footage which shows how India's security personnel are coming under attack every single day in the valley, and the kind of challenges they have to deal with because of this switch in terror tactics. Here's a ground report.
As security forces in the valley fight violent mob fury, they are noticing a definite switch in tactics. It's not just stones and stone pelters, but the CRPF and the police is now having to deal with terrorists lobbing grenades. Intelligence sources say that terrorists are using stone pelters as shields to lob grenades at security forces. The new tactic serves a dual purpose. It targets the security personnel and also creates a situation where self-defense may lead them to fire at the protesters, resulting in fatalities.
This is a situation where the militants are piggybacking on the law and order situations. So this is orchestrated, planned kind of a provocation where they get mixed with the crowds and then they either use firearms or use grenades against us.
While the latest round of protests in the valley have not seen huge number of protesters, they have been more violent, with the protesters displaying a new sense of belligerence.
The security forces fear there would be increased confrontation with the security forces. There could be grenades that could be hurled. There could be ammunition, arms could be used against security forces, provoking them to respond. And this would lead to more trouble, more tension, unfortunately, more loss of life. And the situation in Valley will not come back to normal. That is why utmost restraint has been advised to security forces on the one hand, and on the other hand, an effort is being made to ensure that Pakistan's plans do not succeed. With cameraman Kirpal Singh in Srinagar, Gaurav Sawant for India Today.
Joining me now on the Newsroom Showdown, General Jaswal, former Northern Army commander. Also with us is Shabnam Lone, human rights activist from Kashmir. I want to go across to Shabnam Lone first, because we've just seen a confessional statement from one of the stone pelters who's been nabbed by security forces. This is being affirmed by what the CRPF is telling us, by what the IB is telling us, by what the police is telling us, and all of them seem to suggest, Ms. Lone, that some of these stone pelters, and I'm saying this again, not all of them, but some of them are being paid money, that they're accepting money to attack security forces, that they're being paid money to snatch grenades, that they're being paid money to snatch weapons, they're being paid money to gather mobs. So this is not completely as spontaneous as it is made out to be. This is orchestrated to a great extent, Ms. Lone.
Rahul, paid or not paid, 2016, this is the summer of death. This is a summer of inconsolable grief that the valley has seen. And Burhan Wani may be a terrorist for many in the other parts of the country, but in Kashmir, he remains a hero in perpetuity. And
no, one second. You know, the way you make it seem, it would suggest. No, one second, Ms. Lone, because now what we've got is very, very concrete, substantive comments. You've got a stone pelters report card. You've also got confessional statements from stone pelters about how they're being paid money. It shows General Jaswal very clearly that this lionization, this glorification of this man is actually at some level, to some extent, part of an orchestrated campaign. To some extent, it may be genuine. People may care for the man, but to a great extent, it also seems orchestrated and stage managed. General Jaswal?
Absolutely. This glorification of this man, because he became that macho image, a Robin Hood, etc., etc. But what happened? There were 10 people in his group. The first photograph, 8 have been eliminated. He's actually used them as cannon fodder because out of the group of 10, he never himself participated in any of the operations. He guided the operations from a distance. Now, such like people, they feel that probably will trigger a lot of recruitment, etc. Let me give you the figures. Last year's recruitment were about 80 plus. This year, now of course they are saying some 50 people have gone and got recruited, but before Burhan was killed, only 23 people had been recruited. So people are losing that kind of, I'll call charisma of joining the terrorist ranks. When Pakistan failed to send its terrorists into India, provide leadership, they have started encouraging homegrown terrorism, and wherein they propped up people like Burhan, gave them all the tech-savvy elements so that he could become a face in southern Kashmir.
No, also what we've seen, Ms. Lone, is what we've seen is this switch in terror tactics, you know. We're seeing terrorists join the ranks of stone pelters. They're clearly trying to tap into the frustration and anger of people there. You've seen in the reports that we put out, the visuals that our viewers have been seeing, lobbing hand grenades, lobbing petrol bombs. This is not spontaneous. This is an act of terrorism. If you've got terrorists amidst those stone pelters, lobbing grenades, lobbing petrol bombs, that is not a protest. That is terrorism, Ms. Lone.
For the very venerable General Jaswal, I've got great regard for him, and he has been in Kashmir as a command officer here in, I think in Gulmarg area. Let me say this thing. When we talk about Burhan Wani was all of 21 years of age. At the age of 15, he joined the military.
No, you're not answering my question, Shabnam Lone. I'm asking you a very simple question. I'm saying terrorists are joining the ranks of these stone pelters. They are pelting. No, you must answer the question that I asked you. You've got terrorists now lobbing hand grenades. You've got terrorists throwing petrol bombs. This is not a protest. This is terrorism, Ms. Lone.
You think lobbing a hand grenade or that makes that boy a terrorist?
Of course it does. What else makes somebody a terrorist? You try and take the lives of somebody. One second. This is no spontaneous protest. I think we must just cut to the chase. General Jaswal, anybody lobbying, I'm appalled, I'm aghast by what you're saying, Shabnam Lone. Anybody lobbying grenades is trying to kill security personnel. That person cannot be considered a protester. He has to be considered a terrorist and nothing but a terrorist.
But I don't know. You see, Rahul, as a very famous journalist, I have been watching you people covering the story today. Why are you taking just a one-sided view? It's a unilateral view you are taking. You are all stuck on CRPF people who have got injured.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, that's not true at all. I'm sorry, that's not true at all. We have I'm sorry, that's not true at all. We've covered the human dimension of this story. We've covered the civilians who are getting agitated. Just turn that figure down for a moment. We have covered also the human dimension of the story, how weddings are being cancelled, people's lives are in a mess because of this. In a while from now, I'll show you a ground report from a hospital. But General Jaswal, this has to end. This business of saying, oh, they're just innocent kids lobbing grenades. They're not innocent kids lobbing grenades. Anybody who throws a grenade at any person is a terrorist and nothing but a terrorist, General Jaswal.
There is no doubt in it. The definition of terrorist says so.
All of them. Okay,
anyone who's trying to cause casualties onto the security forces. Mohtharma, can I just finish, if you don't mind? Anyone who takes up arm against the security forces who are defending the integrity. Can you hear me, please?
Jaswal, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Can you hear me?
Sir, I hear you well. Strength 5, go ahead, please.
Who is trying to cause, anyone who's trying to cause casualties on security forces who are trying to maintain the integrity of the country, there is no doubt that that person is a terrorist and he should be dealt with as what is to be done with the terrorist. Now, all these people who are coming within the crowd itself, they have an agenda. You rightly said, Rahul, this is a choreographed movement. They're getting instructions like in 2010 straight from Pakistan, what to do. They want to invite reaction so that the situation goes out of control. In the first place, protest is a good thing. If they want to protest for something, perfectly fine. But don't take law and order into your hand. These chaps are attacking the security forces. Now, a public servant, when he is performing his duty and he finds that his life is being endangered, security forces, they can fire back in self-protection. It's rather unfortunate that some people lost their eyes, whatever it is. But look at this man who's reacting. He's firing in self-defense. You want this man to die with those stones, get injured with the stones?
No, it's a whole different thing to have to deal with protesters. It's completely different to have terrorists in the midst of these protesters. Terrorists who are trying to deliberately escalate the situation, deliberately trying to draw a provocation from the armed forces who are there. In the midst of all of this, India today has learned from highly placed sources in the government's intelligence agencies that the ISI has set up a control room in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, that more than 50 crore rupees have been pumped in just over the last few days to try and ensure that these stone pelters or the elements who are part of this orchestrated network are well taken care of, that they have enough money to create mayhem. We're also being told that 6 conversations have been intercepted, conversations between people in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, ISI handlers and their people on the ground in the Kashmir Valley, where they're taking instructions on what is to be done and how it's to be done. Jitendra Bahadur Singh and Gaurav Sawant collaborate for this story.
It is Pakistan's dirty game to finance Kashmir unrest. The ISI is routing 100 crore rupees to fuel passions. Funds from Pakistan-aided separatists are used to hire stone pelters to foment tension. Pakistani money travels to the valley via the Hawala route.
Pakistan has been trying to always internationalize this issue, but they will never succeed because the entire world also knows the reality. Kashmir is an integral part of India.
Jamaat-ud-Dawa chief Hafiz Saeed and Hizbul Mujahideen chief Syed Salahuddin are in charge of overseeing the ISI operations. Hafiz Saeed's network is actively pushing dirty Pakistan cash into the valley. The ISI plotted the Kashmir unrest at a top-secret meet with terror masters Hafiz Saeed, Syed Salahuddin and Jaish commander Abdul Rauf. And there is proof. Direct calls from Hafiz Saeed and Syed Salahuddin have been intercepted, speaking to local handlers in the valley. At least 40 phone intercepts with clear orders from Pakistan to target Indian security forces. Agencies have intercepted terror code words being used by Pakistani handlers to trigger more bloodshed in the valley. India today has accessed the intelligence report that uncovers Pakistan's destabilized Kashmir plot.
Agitations are taking place in non-traditional areas. The security forces fear there would be increased confrontation with the security forces. There could be grenades that could be hurled. There could be ammunition, arms could be used against security forces, provoking them to respond. And this would lead to more trouble, more tension, unfortunately, more loss of life. And the situation in Valley will not come back to normal. That is why utmost restraint has been advised to security forces on the one hand, and on the other hand, an effort is being made to ensure that Pakistan's plans do not succeed.
The IB report warns that the next 48 hours are crucial for the valley. Pakistani terror masters are keeping a hawk eye on Kashmir from their command centers in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, triggering unrest, engaging Indian forces while pushing infiltrators into India. But here's the biggest worry for Indian intelligence agencies. Terrorists using stone pelters as cover to attack Indian Jawans with hand grenades. With Jitendra Bahadur Singh and Kamaljeet Sandhu, Bureau Report, India Today.
My colleague Gaurav Sawant spoke to S.N. Srivastav, the Additional Director General of the CRPF, the man in charge of the Kashmir area, the man in charge of maintaining law and order in the state, assisting the state's police, the man who runs the paramilitary force in Kashmir. This is what S.N. Srivastav had to say.
There is an uneasy calm on the streets of Srinagar ahead of the Friday prayers, but there is movement of troops, both CRPF and the army, to ensure that the situation remains calm, but there are apprehensions. And with me is Mr. Sachidanand Srivastav, the Additional Director General of the CRPF in Jammu and Kashmir. Sir, what are your instructions to the CRPF ahead of the Friday prayers?
Well, we just now witnessed a passing out parade of CRPF Jawans. Coming back to your question, my instruction to my men have been very simple. I have told them that these unrests are not without detailed plans, so they need to exercise restraint, be patient, and if they have to use force, they should use non-lethal weapons so that we inflict minimum damages.
Prime Minister has also instructed the security forces to ensure that restraint is maintained, but there are apprehensions that there could be terrorists who could hurl grenades like they've done in the past, or they could fire at security forces like they've done recently. So what are your apprehensions?
Well, there has been very relentless stone pelting. Grenades have also been launched at the security forces. There have been petrol bombs, and on some occasions even firing was done from among the members of public. As regards the movement of militants, others, I think the intelligence agencies will be in a better position to mention about that.
Is this spontaneous uprising, or are people being forced to go from one area to the other? Are people being forced to come out on the streets and protest? Is there also fear that it's being orchestrated from across the line of control?
It is not very difficult to understand that a lot of mind has gone into all this. I do not rule out the possibility of people shifting from one region to another region. That could be quite possible.
Mr. Srivastav, for the moment, many thanks for speaking to India Today.
Thank you.
Sachidanand Srivastav, the Additional Director General of the CRPF, saying troops have been advised to observe maximum restraint, but there is fear that terrorists could try and take advantage of this situation and try and aggravate this situation. With cameraman Kirpal Singh in Srinagar, Gaurav Sawant for India Today.
Make no mistake, part of the protest may be spontaneous, but a large part of this protest is orchestrated, and now it's becoming more and more dangerous with terrorists joining the protesters and lobbing grenades. You just heard from the man in charge of the CRPF in the valley talking about the kind of challenges the forces face. But that's just one part of the story. There's also, as Shabnam Lone said earlier, the other dimension of the story, which we've been covering relentlessly here on India Today, the civilian casualties. And one of the big problems seems to be that now we're using pellets instead of using real bullets. And what's happening as a consequence is that a lot of civilians are getting injured. More than 100 have been injured in the eye. A team of retina experts sent by the Prime Minister arrived in Srinagar today. They are now mandated to look at how many of these people can have their eyesight restored. The situation, though, is rather grim. Sujaul Haq reports.
14-year-old Insha Malik has lost vision in her left eye that was pierced by pellets fired by forces. Insha was standing in balcony of her house when the pellet hit her in the face. Insha Malik is one of many pellet victims lying unconscious in the SMHS hospital in Srinagar. As Kashmir hospitals struggle with eye injuries, Centre has rushed doctors' team to the valley. The centre's response came following a state government request for a specialized team of eye surgeons.
Fortunately, we have received around more than 100 patients with severe eye injuries. Out of them, around 80 almost we have been able to operate so far. Out of these patients whom we have operated upon, all of them have a very grave impact, and the prognosis doesn't seem to be all that good.
Over the last 7 days, the hospitals across the valley has received patients with serious eye injuries, all victims of pellet guns used by security forces to control protesters.
the state is facing a severe crisis of healthcare professionals, particularly the eye surgeons, and that's why the government has now requested the centre to dispatch some professionals to the state to deal with this crisis.
With the pellet guns giving Kashmir's young a dark future, the challenge for the government is to tame the cycle of violence. Bureau Report, India Today.
Our reporters are on the ground in Kashmir. We are covering the story far more extensively than any other network. Remember, it's not about guests sitting in the studio yelling at each other. It's about going out there in the midst of these battle lines, telling all parts of this story. That's what we'll continue to do on India Today. Former Army Chief and Minister in the Modi government, General V.K. Singh, is in South Sudan, evacuating Indians who are stranded there. The Indian Army also played a very important role in trying to settle violence in the area. Here's a full report.
The big evacuation of Indians from war-torn South Sudan. With world's newest country slipping into chaos and civil war, New Delhi is racing against time to extricate 600 Indian citizens. Junior External Affairs Minister General V.K. Singh, who led a similar rescue from Yemen, is leading this mission as well, codenamed Operation Sankat Mochan. Two C-17 Globemaster heavy lift aircrafts are bringing the Indians home after heavy fighting broke out in Juba. All Indians in South Sudan have been advised to get in touch with the embassy in Juba and leave the country. The evacuation flight route will be Juba, Kampala, Trivandrum, Delhi. The government will also operate additional flights if needed to rescue the last man. However, several Indians decided to stay back after the ceasefire ruling came into being. Despite requests from External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj, 300 Indians officially registered themselves out of the 600 resident Indians. Bollywood star Akshay Kumar, who played the real-life evacuation saga in his blockbuster film Airlift, had sent out an earnest appeal to the government earlier. The Indian evacuation comes in the aftermath of some unparalleled acts of bravery by our troops deployed in the war-ravaged nation. Indian soldiers rose to the defense of refugees who had taken shelter in a UN camp when it came under heavy rebel fire. Indian soldiers secured the UN safe house despite coming under mortar fire and shelling by tanks. With Maha Siddiqui and Jugal Purohit, Bureau Report, India Today.
Let's focus for a moment now on the developing situation in Arunachal Pradesh. The state's governor has given Nabam Tuki of the Congress till the weekend to prove his majority on the floor of the House. Meanwhile, voices have started emerging from within the Congress saying that the party should be willing to sacrifice Nabam Tuki if rebel MLAs are not prepared to come back and work with him. The BJP, through all of this, is very confident. They're saying when the floor test happens, the BJP will win, the Congress will lose. Manogya Loiwal is in Itanagar. She files this story for the Newsroom.
The Arunachal suspense is all set to get over in 2 days. The State Assembly will witness a historic floor test to determine whether Nabam Tuki-led Congress government will take charge or will the scales tilt in rebel leader Kalikopul's favour.
As the number game in Arunachal Pradesh continues, it is interesting to be seen that Nabam Tuki has sent a letter, an exclusive copy of which is with India Today, to the governor stating that he has already assumed the office as the chief minister. On the contrary, Kalikopul has been claiming that he has the numbers. And now a letter from the governor of Arunachal Pradesh, Tathagat Roy, is being sent to all the leaders stating that they will have to prove a majority not later than 16th of July in the assembly, and this would also ensure that who wins the number game. Perhaps it would be interesting to watch on how the compliance to the Supreme Court order is continued, and with that, who wins the number game.
Both BJP and Congress are doing their best to ensure that they have crucial numbers. Though the Congress had 42 MLAs in the 60-member assembly, 20 of them had walked away last December, pledging support for BJP, leaving the Congress government headed by Nabam Tuki in minority. The desertion leaves Congress with a deficit of 8. According to top-level Congress sources, the party has opened its doors to all rebel MLAs, saying they are part of the same family. Its leaders are in touch with at least 15 rebels, claiming they are ready to come back. Congress has also reportedly agreed to change the Chief Minister and has offered to resolve all issues. Congress is also mulling the Uttarakhand solution, writing to the Speaker to disqualify the rebels. This will again put the party in a majority in Arunachal.
Now these people are saying that, okay, we are a dissent, we are in the dissident group. Now even though in the dissident group, in the heart of hearts, everybody wants to be in the Congress. The only thing is that, okay, what are the lacunas that we made?
Former Chief Minister who was ousted by the Supreme Court is confident of his majority.
तो वो प्रेसिडेंट का प्रोक्लेमेशन से तुकी साहब आउट हुआ है सीएम not because of that 15-16 assembly proceeding, not because of 13 Guwahati High Court judgment.
BJP, meanwhile, is planning to take the rebels along for a meeting with the governor with the appeal that a floor test be held immediately. BJP is also reportedly trying to keep the rebel flock together. Sources say all of them are being kept closeted till the floor test in Guwahati. The state BJP, meanwhile, is set to approach the apex court to seek more clarification on its crucial order.
इतना मेरे को पक्का उम्मीद है कि तुकी पर वहां के एमएलएस का विश्वास नहीं है, ये बात फ्लोर टेस्ट में स्पष्ट हो जाएगा.
All eyes are set on the floor test that will decide the fate of Arunachal Pradesh. Bureau Report, India Today.
The Congress today played the Brahmin Khatri card by bringing Sheila Dikshit, three-time Chief Minister of Delhi, and presenting her as the party's chief ministerial face for Uttar Pradesh. Priyanka Vadra apparently had an important role to play in convincing Sheila Dikshit to come on board, since she'd made a public comment saying that there were too few months to go and that she wasn't sure she'd be able to make a difference. But she's taken charge now. The critical question for the Congress party is, to what extent can the Bahu of Uttar Pradesh help the grand old party recover lost ground in this crucial battleground state?
This is the phase Congress hopes will revive its fortunes in Uttar Pradesh, a state where it's been out of power since mid-80s. After weeks of speculation, she was earlier being considered for the post of Punjab Unit Chief. After weeks of speculation, Congress finally took the plunge, announcing Sheila as its chief ministerial candidate in the state. She was earlier being considered for the post of the Punjab Unit Chief.
उत्तर प्रदेश एक ऐसी जगह है कि हर जगह अलग-अलग पार्टी. उत्तर प्रदेश कोई ऐसी जगह नहीं है कि 403 पे 403. अलग-अलग पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज हैं जहां जिस पार्टी का कैंडिडेट सख्त होगा, सक्षम होगा, जिसके साथ जहां मुकाबला होगा.
According to sources, Sheila, seen as an outsider in Uttar Pradesh, is seen as the best bet for Congress. The party is badly ridden with factionalism in the state, and Sheila seems to be the only acceptable candidate. The 78-year-old also is helped by her own excellent track record in Delhi. Sheila is not new to UP, having been an MP earlier from the Yadav stronghold of Kannauj. Importantly, she is bang on target for the very crucial caste equations in the state, being married into a Brahmin family.
Well, the party has taken a decision for which I'm very grateful, that they repose so much faith and trust in me. And I can only pray right now that I hope I'm able to live up to that faith and trust.
Reactions of Sheila from the opposition parties in the state were immediate.
जो तय करना है कर लेते हैं. अच्छा जी नमस्कार. ये यूपी का मामूली सब दल सब कुछ करेंगे. जनता आकलन करेगी.
Sheila Dikshit, out in political wilderness, has been given the task of reviving the fortunes of the Congress party in Uttar Pradesh. Clearly not an easy task, as the Congress has all but been wiped out from the heart of the political state in the country.
Well, there's a huge demand for her. And I do hope that eventually, maybe after some time, she will campaign, because her campaigning will be great help to the Congress to win the elections.
Meanwhile, the good news brought with it some bad tidings for Sheila as well, in the shape of summons from the Anti-Corruption Bureau in the Delhi water tank scam. The chief ministerial face of Congress in UP will have to appear before cops on 26th of August. With Ashar Khan in Delhi, Bureau Report, India Today.
My colleague Javed Ansari spoke to Sheila Dikshit, the new chief ministerial face for the Congress party in Uttar Pradesh. This is what she had to say about working with Priyanka Vadra and also about her level of optimism about being able to revive the Congress's fortunes.
Sheila ji, congratulations on your name being announced. You up for it?
Well, the party has taken a decision for which I'm very grateful, that they repose so much faith and trust in me. And I can only pray right now that I hope I'm able to live up to that faith and trust.
Yeah, many would consider, you've been 3-time Chief Minister of Delhi and you're not getting any younger, no disrespect, man. So many would consider this a bit surprising.
Well, I don't know, yes. To many it may appear surprising, but this talk has been going on for some time, and I think after a lot of consideration, this decision has been taken, and I only hope and pray to God that I'm able to live up to this expectation.
Your opponents say that all your active politics life has been in Delhi, and that there's a dearth of talent in UP, and that's why they've pitchforked you.
No. There is a lot of my political life. 15 years of my political life has been in Delhi, no doubt about it. But I've also been in politics when I was in UP. I was the Minister of State for Parliamentary Affairs and Minister of State in the PMO when I was in UP. So it's not that I'm cut off from UP.
Your supporters say this is an inspired move. Your detractors say this is a desperate move.
Well, I don't think it's a desperate move. I think a decision has been taken after a lot of consideration by the High Command. And I think we should respect that. Why do you call it a desperate move? It's something they've done. And I'm not a stranger to UP at all.
One last question. Your detractors are already raising this question of corruption charges against you.
This is totally wrong. They are politically motivated. Even Mr. Kejriwal has admitted that there are no charges at all. And let's see what happens. But if you just call somebody corrupt like that, doesn't mean the person has become corrupt. I am very clear that this is only politically motivated. There is no truth in it at all.
One last question. What role will Priyanka Gandhi play? Will she campaign? Have you managed to get a promise out of her?
Well, there's a huge demand for her. And I do hope that eventually, maybe after some time, she will campaign, because her campaigning will be great help to the Congress to win the elections, and she's extremely popular. So I do hope that eventually she will change her mind and will come forward.
So when are you planning to shift to UP now?
Yes, I will. I will shift to Lucknow. I will stay in Lucknow most of the time, or except when we are doing this part of UP, the western part of it, then maybe I'll function from here. But definitely I will be in UP, Lucknow.
In some senses, it's a good move by the Congress because they now have a credible face, a good administrator. In some senses, it's also a face saver for the party, because if Priyanka Vadra campaigns outside Raebareli, outside Amethi, and if the party doesn't do well, then the blame doesn't really go directly to Priyanka. It is shared with Sheila Dikshit. So the Congress, they're trying to keep both things in mind. Before we move any further, let me take you through some of the other big headlines that have made it to the newsroom tonight. After multiple cancellations, controversial televangelist Zakir Naik's press conference has been scheduled for tomorrow. Naik will address a press conference in Mumbai via Skype at 10 a.m. A Delhi court has convicted all 3 accused in the Jigisha Ghosh murder case. The 3 accused were charged with murder and abduction. Jigisha Ghosh was abducted from outside her house and her body was found near the Faridabad border in 2009. Delhi Health Minister Satinder Jain's daughter Soumya resigned as advisor to Mohalla Clinics, an initiative of the Aam Aadmi Party. This came after opposition slammed her for being appointed as an advisor despite being the minister's daughter. Remember, this is what the Aam Aadmi Party said they wouldn't do. 3 people were injured in a rhino attack on a national highway in Kaziranga. The animal had crossed over to human habitats because of flooding in the national park. The woman officer who led the Guard of Honor when American President Barack Obama came calling, she has now filed a case against the Indian Air Force alleging discrimination alleging that she has been denied permanent commission. The Ministry of Home Affairs, though, says that the officer is wrong, that she was offered permanent commission 4 years ago, which Pooja apparently rejected. Here's the full story.
She was once the poster girl of women in Indian Air Force. Wing Commander Pooja Thakur led the Guard of Honor during US President Barack Obama's visit last year. And now Pooja has taken on the Air Force for denying her a permanent commission. In a petition before the Armed Forces Tribunal, Pooja claims the move by Air Force is biased and arbitrary.
We are not challenging it as such. We are only saying that that policy is not putting any such condition, whereas for the women officers, they have specifically brought out this policy, which is, to our mind, is unfair.
Thakur led an inter-service Guard of Honor last year, drawing admiration from Obama himself. As per Pooja's lawyer, the Air Force says she was offered permanent commission in 2012, which she denied. Denial of permanent commission to Pooja is being seen as the big jolt to women empowerment in armed forces. It also contradicts Prime Minister Narendra Modi's call for women in bigger roles. With Anusha Soni, Bureau Report, India Today.
This is where we end the newsroom tonight. I look forward to seeing you at 10 p.m. tomorrow evening with another cracking edition of the newsroom. I leave you tonight with